Hi there and welcome to another episode of Plane Chasing. My name is James Menzies of J Menzies Productions. Today I have with me storm chaser Scott Peake. Hi Scott, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, James.
Absolutely. So can we just start off by you telling me a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, where you're from originally?
Absolutely. In the beginning, was adopted pretty much and was born in Central Texas, adopted at 2 months old and to a family that moved to Dallas and grew up in the north side, just on the Collin County, Dallas County line. So that's where I grew up for the majority of my life. And my parents eventually moved to Allen, just a little further north into Collin County. And that's where I went through high school and all that. So pretty much.
Yeah, so what did you study in high school? I mean, did you always want to be a storm chaser? Did you always want to study meteorology? Or was that something that kind of came later on?
So that actually started when I was a child, and it was born from a fear of lightning, oddly enough, out of all the things. And I just had an awful fear of lightning when I was a child. I just understand it
So did I, so I can understand that.
Right, and of course, it's still, today, I'm very cautious about lightning no matter what. And it's beautiful, but it can be very dangerous, the more I've studied about it, but over the years. But through that fear, I got curious and started to read books and try to look up how lightning worked and what the mechanics were. And through that, I discovered tornadoes, and it looked like just something out of this world to me, at a very young age of 4 years old. And, of course, I didn't know what storm chasing was at that point, but it grew on me, that fascination for tornadoes. And, when I got to that point where, discovered what tornado chasing was, that was something I wanted to do. And I know you had Tim Marshall on the first episode, actually.
Yeah, I did, yeah.
He was actually one of my inspirations. I saw him on storm documentaries about tornadoes and meteorology and forecasting, and that really inspired me to really want to dive into chasing.
Yeah, I understand it completely. One of my first kind of things that got me into storms was seeing video of the Andover tornado in Kansas back when I was 12 years old. It was on the news in England. So very much like you, I was like, wow, that's a weather event, and it was just kind of amazing to see something like that at such a young age. And you think, wow, that's really interesting. But like you said, I was afraid of lightning when I was a kid, and I just kind of got, more and more into it and kind of trying to understand it. And then of course seeing tornado videos kind of just really piqued my interest in weather.
Right. And through high school, it still stuck with me. And I was lucky enough to go to a high school that had a real TV station. It was a KGLE, cable channel 17 broadcasting station they had there in the high school. And it's top notch in the country. And they had a position open for a weather forecaster, and I took it, and that's where I started forecasting and tweaking my ability to get more accurate forecasting, and that really helped out, because it really taught me what I needed to improve on.
Yeah, absolutely. I understand that. What was the first tornado you ever actually saw?
So it's a little murky. I don't have any videos of it, but it was actually out towards Clinton, Oklahoma. I was with one of my first storm chasing partners and friend, Mike Mesual, and we were with a gentleman named Ken Fugate, and he was another storm chaser. And we had taken a trip out in 2004. I believe it was May, and we had witnessed 2 tornadoes at the same time, and they were north of I-40, just north. We were actually looking at the 2 tornadoes just north of I-40, but that was in 2004, and so it was just a real experience. And they weren't all that big; they were small, but it was still very fascinating to see that for the first time.
Yeah, and in your years of chasing, what would you say has been the biggest tornado you've ever seen?
Well, I'd have to go with the El Reno tornado. That was the largest, 2.6 miles wide, and yeah, that was an experience in itself, witnessing that tornado. Yeah, I love lightning. I love doing lightning photography, but tornadoes are my real passion. I know some people view storm chasing as a success in if they're getting those lightning shots they're wanting or getting the tornado shot they're wanting. It's all relative when you say success in storm chasing, and I know you're very good at your lightning photography. It's fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah, it's definitely one of my favorites. So I actually, out of everything, I prefer lightning photography to tornado photography, because lightning can come from any storm. To your
Absolutely.
Garden variety thunder shower in the summer to supercells that just drop bolts out the top of them. So,
and I'm pretty sure no lightning is the same.
No, it's not.
So,
no, definitely
it's
not.
Like snowflakes.
Although it can strike twice.
It can strike twice.
Can strike
yep.
Twice, yeah. What would you say throughout your career has been your most hair-raising experience? Like, when was the time that you thought, right, I am getting too close, I need to back off? Was there an event that kind of sticks with you?
There's a couple. One of them was obviously El Reno.
Yeah.
That one, I think a lot of people got caught off guard, and you can't really, I can't blame them. And I was caught off guard as well, and we were going due east on Telephone Road, and that was, we thought the tornado was going to drop southeast, and we were going to drop southeast with it, and the storm decided to swing back to the north, and along with the tornado, and that was very, very scary. Driving against 50-mile-an-hour damaging inflow winds, and that was a hair-raising moment. Another one I had was in Sand Springs, Oklahoma, and forgive me, I don't remember the dates, but I can always go back and look. But that was on Interstate 412, just west of Tulsa. It was very hilly out there. I'm sure you know. It's very difficult terrain to chase in on the west side of Tulsa.
Yeah, definitely.
And we were traveling westbound, and there was a partially rain-wrapped tornado. In the rain, I know people to the south could see it better than we could, because the tornado was actually blending in with the colors of the rain curtains. So it was very difficult to see, it's a limited access highway, so you can't just turn around because the Jersey barrier is solid all the way through.
Yeah.
So we had to race this cone tornado to the highway, or the highway bridge, to turn around. And unfortunately, it was going faster than than I gauged it, and had to ride it out next to the highway bridge on the side, that one definitely made my ears pop. So that was definitely another hair-raising moment. But I got an incredible video, and of course it was like a scene from Twister. There was a semi truck, specifically a gas tanker, that was driving underneath the overpass, and tornado didn't touch it because it was aerodynamic, so it didn't flip it over or anything, which was very lucky for us.
Yeah, definitely. Now, what would you say is, what's your favorite state to chase in, do you think, out of all of them?
Ooh, I have I know the series is called Plane Chaser. So I have a few. One of them is in Dixie Alley, and I know it's not completely, it's not really the plains, but it's I'd have to say the Mississippi-Alabama border, around there, mainly on the Mississippi side. That seems to be a place that I enjoy. It's a challenge, with the trees. You have to find your open spaces in order to intercept and get the video. But it's a nice challenge for me, and I enjoy it because not that many storm chaser conversions out there, because a lot of chasers won't do it. But I've been able to, chase through it.
Yeah, I understand that. You certainly have to have some experience chasing
Absolutely.
with all those trees and lack of visibility, and you've really got to know you'll be able to read your radar presentation on that. Tell what the storm's doing, because that's really all you've got is your eyes and your radar. That's
right.
That's all the info you're going to have.
Absolutely, and it's a different animal chasing
in
the southeast than it is in the plains.
Yeah.
And I know Eastern Arkansas is a beautiful. Eastern Arkansas looks like the Wichita, Kansas area,
Yeah.
just flat with clusters of trees off in the distance. But to answer your second question, or your original question, I'd have to say the Oklahoma, Texas Panhandle, and the southwest corner of Kansas, right in there, just north of the Cap Rock or right on the Cap Rock. That seems to be just a beautiful place to intercept tornadoes.
Yeah, it's flat. You've got great roads. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then one other is Manitoba, Canada, and that's usually late season. I've discovered that that's a fantastic place to chase in your early summertime setups up there in the Canadian border north of Minot, North Dakota. And they've got dirt roads, but these are highly maintained dirt roads, and they're perfectly gridded. Even when they're wet, it's very well maintained. It's just you still have traction.
Yeah.
It's no storm chaser convergence at all, and you're by yourself. And
I'm starting to get the feeling you don't like storm chaser convergence very much.
not too much. That slows me down a little bit. I know there's other people just as passionate as I am, and they have every right to be out there just like I do. But it makes it more difficult for sure. There's I've had many times where I've been slowed down and lost a storm or missed an opportunity to intercept because of chaser convergence. And there is some dangers that arise when you're dealing with chaser convergence. There's people pulling out from the side of the road. You have people pulling in, slowing down, and then pulling in off the road, and you always have to watch for that. Some people, unfortunately, will park halfway on the road because they don't want to get stuck in the mud.
It's kind of a common occurrence.
Yeah. So, but when I chase, I try to, I do my best to chase ethically and without putting anybody else or myself in danger.
Of course.
Especially when it comes to chaser convergence. And just chasing with, just common courtesy.
Yeah.
And there are chasers out there that do that, but there's also a lot of chasers who are just beginning and they don't realize, I should probably pull off for, on a safe spot, or they get tunnel vision as what I've noticed. And, I'm not saying I'm perfect either. I've done the same thing when I was younger. I didn't realize, I need to maybe pull off a little bit more off the road.
Yep, also guilty here.
Right, so, no one's perfect. We all learn. But it's always good to pass on that earlier than later. So
definitely.
That's one of the things I try to practice if I'm taking someone out chasing with me. I'll say just let you know I
just
like to
educate them a bit.
Right, exactly. I like to educate them and make sure that they know that for safety first.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I want to be able to go out and chase other storms. In the future, I don't want to. Get injured or anything.
Exactly, yeah. Now, when you've been out chasing, has there ever been any really good food places you've come across, really good restaurants? This is something I like to touch upon because obviously all us chasers are foodies.
Right.
And when you're chasing or you've just had a good chase and you want to celebrate, there's loads of places out there. Tim was talking about it, saying there's some great Ma and Pa restaurants that are family run, and those are usually the best.
Absolutely.
So my question to you is, have you ever come across any that were really good that you'd like traditionally pay a visit to after a chase?
Sure, absolutely. Well, I know Tim likes those diners, those mom and pop diners, and he talked about in the first episode about just getting that homemade apple pie or that homemade pie, and I do enjoy those mom and pop diners, and some of those places like holes in the walls are actually the best places.
Yeah,
I know there's a few in Amarillo I like to stop at. I can't think of one at the moment, but funny enough, I have a thing for Chinese buffets. Enough. So I'm a little more one-track minded when it comes to at least before the chase.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm not able to.
Yeah, before the chase. Are you sure that's a good idea? I mean, we're talking Chinese food here. Yeah. And usually the buffet is where you don't really want to risk your life at before a chase.
Absolutely. I haven't had any problems with that. Thank God. Well, knock on wood.
I've only made that mistake once, and I had to pop a squat under a mezzo. It's a bad thing. So, that's pretty brave of you.
Right. Yeah, I'm pretty careful on what buffets I choose.
Yeah.
I'm always looking at my my GPS or the ratings on my GPS when I'm punching in the Chinese buffets, so I can look at those ratings, make sure they got enough stars. So because if they don't, then I gotta avoid it. But
Are you one of those people that likes to sit down for that traditional steak after catching a tornado?
I try to do that. I know it's a little more expensive. I've got a budget on my chasing because I'm a long distance chaser. You know, I know there's a few out there, and we have a good handful of them. So I try to. My storm season pretty much lasts a lot longer than most. I know some people are on vacation. Others may be able to take off work, but are limited to how far they can go. Of course, I'm lucky enough to have a side job where I can take off Ubering. I can take off and just drop everything and go. I'm still on a budget because I want to be able to make it, to those on those long distance chases and not just blow my budget on the first part of the season. So I'd love to celebrate with a steak, and I try to do that when I can fit that in my budget. But sometimes it's just not possible, or I'm chasing later at night and just can't get there. But steak dinners I do like, but only when I can.
Absolutely. Okay, Scott, so I see you've brought some video with you today. I'm sure most of the viewers who are watching this know exactly which day and what tornado this is, but just for the sake of the viewers that don't, could you go ahead and tell us which day and what year this is?
Sure, this is May 9th, 2016. This was the Wynnewood, Oklahoma tornado. This is probably in its mature stage at this point, as it was really starting to get going. And you can see the debris flying up in the air. It hit actually several barns and structures. Unfortunately, it did kill a few people as it tore through the south central part of the state, or the southern part of the Central Plains here. So, but and you can see the tornado is moving easterly. And I'm following right behind it. You can see a roof fly up there.
Yeah, I noticed this tornado is producing quite a few horizontal vortices.
Absolutely, and that's one thing I look for when I'm shooting video. It's fascinating to see those horizontal vortices in the tornado, and you got another shot.
That's
here.
Usually an indicator of a violent tornado too.
Absolutely, yes. A lot of rising motion. You usually see that on tornadoes that have a fast motion upwards. And unfortunately, the power line here was way too low for me to get underneath.
Yeah, and as a lot of us tell other chasers, it's not worth driving or touching power lines with your vehicle.
Absolutely not. Okay, so the video starts again, and you can see the angry octopus arms is what I like to call it. But pretty much is a fancy word for the subvortices, the multi-vortex tornado.
Yeah, and this had very distinctive ones too.
Oh, absolutely. Just the motion was incredible. And obviously, the tornado is sucking in a little bit of dry air, which is exposing those subvortices in the tornado. And you can obviously right here.
As opposed to a fully condensed tube to the ground.
Absolutely. And it's because of that a little bit of dry air is evaporating the water vapor, so it's exposing those vortices.
Yeah.
I'm driving south. I'm driving southbound here. The tornado is moving east, so it's going to actually cross in front of my car. And this is when I had the Honda Accord at the time. And
you've upgraded since.
I've upgraded, since then to the Taurus.
So for all you chasers out there watching, if you see a Ford Taurus, so you know who it is.
Just an incredible tornado. It's just violent.
Yeah, that was an amazing tornado that day. And I was unfortunately sick that day, so I missed it. But I
know a lot of storm chasers like you and myself. We have a passion for chasing tornadoes and getting that footage. And I know we also know that people's lives are being changed by these weather phenomena, and we keep that in mind when we're chasing. And I do everything I can to do storm reports, and get the report out there quickly if it's
Well, exactly, because that's originally what one of the main purposes of storm chasers was way back in the day.
Absolutely.
Was they were trained by the weather service to go out and actually spot the tornadoes and call them in, because the radar can show you where the tornado might be,
right,
but you still need to have a visual confirmation of whether there is or isn't one on the ground.
Absolutely.
So
radar doesn't tell you that a tornado is beginning.
Exactly.
It can tell you if a tornado is in progress with the debris flying in the air, just like in the footage here. You see a lot of debris, lots of tree debris and.
But even then, back in the days, the radars couldn't really see the debris.
Absolutely.
Whereas over the years, they've become more and more advanced, and they
get the high resolution.
Yep, get the high resolution. They can actually pick out the debris flying in the tornado.
That's correct.
So, but you'll always need storm chasers as a visual confirmation that there is one on the ground.
Absolutely, and I know you and I, along with lots of other storm chasers, we make it a obligation to ourselves to be able to warn the public, and which will help potentially save lives, and that's one of the things that I try to do, and try to get the warning out there as quickly as I can.
I know a lot of your videos that I've watched on your YouTube channel, Basehunters, has always had audio of you calling in the reports.
Absolutely. So, sometimes you don't hear it because before I hit that record button, I'm on the phone with the emergency services or the weather service. It just depends, but I've usually in my YouTube videos you won't hear it. I mean, you've heard them in several of my videos if you listen closely. But usually before I hit that record button, I'm making the storm report. As part of my priority to get the warning out there. If there's not already other storm chasers out there, they're probably doing the reports already.
Yeah, and I like to kind of stress that to all new up-and-coming storm chasers, that once you do start getting out there in the field and enjoying the hobby as much as we do take a moment to just put the camera down and dial the local weather service or police and call in the tornado.
Absolutely,
because every report helps at the end of the day, and it does. That's what our main purpose is, really.
February 10th of 2013 was a prime example.
Exactly.
Hattiesburg, Mississippi, violent tornado went right through town, and I was the first storm chaser, first person to see it and report it. And
you were on the phone actually for probably a good 10
yes,
minutes.
That's one of the ones where you actually hear me talking to the National Weather Service, and my friend Michael Stopp, he was on the phone with 911 and talking to the Sheriff's Department. And of course that tornado crossed 2 county lines. So we had to transfer to the other county in the middle of it.
Yeah, and you had to continue.
Absolutely, absolutely. I see what you did there.
Yep. So at this point, the tornado is doing quite a bit of damage.
Oh,
man. You can see it pulling these trees out of the ground just like they're toothpicks. So
those are fully grown trees. Those are like large oak trees and elm that and you can see another one flying in the air. And this is actually in someone's driveway. I had to turn around, and I lose the tornado for a little bit. I got mesmerized by the flying trees, and these trees that I'm passing here. That's about the size of the trees that the tornado's uprooting.
Yeah.
So these aren't.
They're fairly well-aged trees.
Absolutely, yeah. These aren't little tiny trees.
I mean, that right there is kind of your classic. What people, if you mention a tornado to someone, that's what they imagine.
This is your classic cone. This is like your Wizard of Oz kind of tornado. Actually, the movement really reminded me of the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, at some points it did. Yeah. And this was an EF4 tornado.
EF4.
That they rated it. Yeah.
That's correct. And so was the second tornado that it produced, the supercell. And there's part of a barn that it hit. And you can see other large pieces of tree debris.
Now, how close are you at this point? You look like you're probably less than a quarter of a mile away, I want to say.
Yeah, about less than a quarter of a mile. I'm getting within I'm starting to get within a quarter mile now. It's up the road. You can see, obviously, in the video.
There's a few other people as well. And
right, yeah. Some other fellow storm chasers. You have Ben Holcomb and Dick McGowan coming out.
Oh, yeah.
Had to go around them.
Wow, just look at them. Look at the motion on that. It's incredible.
Absolutely.
It's very violent tornado there.
Absolutely. And
that tree, just unbelievable. Gosh. And look at the rising motion on that. It's just unbelievable.
And if you notice, you'll see a pickup truck, a mangled pickup truck on the the center bottom part of the screen is actually I'm actually gonna pass it here in just a moment. But you can see the wheel, the tire right there, and it mangled. I'm sure that was an older style.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's it almost looked like a bit of tractor equipment.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's some type of vehicle.
But it's interesting at this point how the tornado crossed the road, then jogged right back.
Yeah, it was acting a little erratic going eastbound. You could really see that tree right there.
Yeah. Yeah. This is fantastic video.
Now I'm really within about 200 yards.
Yeah, you're close at this point.
Right, and the sound of the tornado, it sounds like a rushing waterfall, for those that don't know.
What? Yeah, because you know what it really gets me down is where people say, oh, it sounded like a freight train. I have never heard a tornado that ever sounded like a freight train.
I have never either.
Other than the big ones, the big wide wedges. If you get close enough to those, I've heard people say you can hear that deep rumble. Which
you can hear that banging and clonking of metal and stuff, and it sounds like the clacking noise of a train. Yeah, absolutely.
That could be taken as a train, but like you said, I've only ever heard that real sound of like standing next to a giant waterfall.
Sure,
that's
absolutely.
What it really sounds like.
Yep.
But yeah, that's some incredible video there. And,
thank you, James.
You're a little braver than I am, to be honest.
And I do this with safety in mind.
Yeah.
One of my other strategies, and you'll notice in...
Oh, look at that horizontal motion there.
Absolutely.
Sorry to interrupt you there, but that horizontal motion for that second there was just incredible.
Oh, absolutely. And I think I was able to get underneath that power line.
Wow.
I don't know if I think I had to stop because the GoPros are on the roof and I didn't want to get ripped off by the power line.
Okay, Scott, that was some fantastic video. I want to thank you for bringing that in. Now, just before we finish up, is there anything you'd like to say to the viewers?
Well, I can't think of anything right off the top of my head, but I know, I'm still young, and I hope to bring in new videos and.
Of course, the season's just about to start now, so we got.
Absolutely, yes, yeah. We're starting to get those roaring south winds, and it's bringing up that moisture. And I know there's a couple of chases coming up in the next few days, so I'll be out there and covering that. And I hope it's another productive season this year. And I know 2017 was kind of slow, but it's a learning process, and some seasons are just slower than others, and I know a lot of people get frustrated with certain seasons, but it kind of helps me remind myself that there's more than just tornadoes out there to love and to have passion for. It's being out in the plains, experiencing everything the plains have to offer, and if it's food or restaurants and Chinese buffets. With a side of Pepto. Absolutely. But another thing storm chasing seems to bring is friends. Being able to
absolutely
see your friends on a random dirt road in the middle of western Nebraska, or it definitely brings friends together that you haven't seen in a while. And
and it really would be a random dirt road in western Nebraska.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I love it when that happens. I love seeing you out there. Like when you pass by in your truck, I'm like, oh, that's James! Yay! So, I like to wish everybody a safe and happy season again, and it's a passion that I've always held in my heart, and I hope to continue on, and I know I'm going to be doing some other projects we'll talk about later, I'm sure, and on the research side, and I'd like to contribute to the research community on how tornadoes work. And hopefully I can contribute to that later on this season. And that's about it.
Brilliant. All right, thanks, Scott. Thanks for coming on the show. Appreciate it.
Thank you, James. It was wonderful having you with me.
Absolutely.
It was wonderful.
Where were we? Were we somewhere else?
Thanks for coming into my house, and we look forward to seeing you.
Suddenly you own this house and I'm leaving.
Thank you, James. You can take the Taurus, and we'll see you later.
Absolutely. All right then. Be sure to tune in next time for another episode of Plane Chasing. Thanks.